Hey, all right. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today. So today we are 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 12 through 14. For our boast is this, the testimony of our conscience, that we behaved in the world with simplicity and godly sincerity, not by earthly wisdom, but by the grace of God, and supremely so towards you. For we are not writing to you anything other than what you read and understand. And I hope you will fully understand. Just as you did partially understand us, that on the day of our Lord Jesus you will boast of us as we will boast of you. So we see Paul outlining what I believe is godly character, how important it is to have godly character. So we see him walking with simplicity. And this word also means like purity of motives, holiness, and sanctification. 2 Peter talks about sanctification, right? And godly sincerity, just walking in that godly sincerity. With a pure motive, no selfish ambition, just walking among others with that godly character. And then he talks about not with earthly wisdom, right? James 3:15, right, calls earthly wisdom demonic. Man, so we want to walk with heavenly wisdom from above, that God grants us wisdom, right? And then and then he says, by the grace of God. We have to really acknowledge God's grace in our life. It's only by God's grace, right, that we're saved, that we live, right, and all the favor, right, unmerited favor that God gives us, the grace. We've moved many times, and God has had grace on us. And so we need to acknowledge God's grace. And then Paul goes on to say, and supremely so towards you. He was really intentional about how he was with the Corinthian church. He purposed in his heart, right, to have a pure motive, to walk in holiness and, sanctification, godly sincerity, right? Supremely so towards you. He purposed in his heart. And then he goes on to talk about, he really wants the people to understand. In verse 13, he says, I hope you will fully understand. Right? So he wants people to really understand what it is, how to walk with God, right? And then in verse 14, we're supposed to edify one another, build each other up, right? Build up the body. Because he says in verse 14, right, that on the day of our Lord Jesus, you will boast of us as we will boast of you. Right? We always want to lift one another up, build up one another, right? And, boast of people. Tell people, how if someone's doing a good job, tell them. If you have you just have those opportunities when you're with others to build one another up. We should always build up one another. So my encouragement today is we should, like Paul purposed in his heart, right? That we should purpose in our heart to live with simplicity, godly sincerity, right? and heavenly wisdom, right? Not earthly wisdom. And we should always be building one another up, right? The word talks about not letting any unedifying word come out of your mouth, but only that which builds one another up and offers grace to the hearers. So if you're having a conversation, you want to build someone up, and if someone's somewhere else and they can hear what you're saying, it should offer grace, right? It should build them up. So my encouragement is to go serve a community. You know, Paul was intentional, right? He was intentional about the Corinthian church. Go serve a community, live with gospel intentionality, right? Gospel intentionality. And in our culture, we really have to go and not live for ourselves and not increase our lifestyle, right? We should go. So those who have, Paul talks about the opportunity. So those who have opportunity should go and live intentional. Live with simplicity. Live with godly sincerity. Not by earthly wisdom, with heavenly wisdom, of course, and by the grace of God, right? So he was intentional, and so this lays out Paul's character, how he was towards the church. And so, so we need to live with pure motives, live with godly sincerity, and walk in heavenly wisdom, and be intentional in our heart how we are going to be with others. All right, so I hope you all are encouraged today. Y'all be blessed today, and we'll see you again. And and just a side note, so I'm using these ESV book journals. They've been super helpful. I got one at the Gospel Coalition conference one time, and then so these have been really helpful. It has it outlined in paragraph form, because the word was not written with chapters or verses, so it's in paragraph form. It really helps you read it in context, and then it has a little area for notes. So that's just a side note. Y'all have a good day and be blessed. All right, bye bye.